Hello, everyone. You're listening to Game Rivals, a podcast where a Nintendo fan and a PlayStation fan talk about the latest games and happenings in the gaming community and industry. I'm one of your hosts, Maximilian X, and together with Sean Templar, we bring you this bi weekly podcast about video games. Hello, and welcome to the Game Rivals. I am your host, Maximilian X, coming to you live from the interwebs with my fellow co-host, Sean Templar. How are you doing, Sean Templar?
I'm okay. How you doing?
I'm I'm okay. I'm not. I mean, it's okay. I mean, we've had a busy week. Well, most of us have had a busy week.
Well, you can say that again.
and yeah, I mean, we just got out of our first E3 week coverage. We weren't actually there, but
I don't mind
how
it.
E
I don't
no,
mind.
but how E3 works these days, you could probably cover a lot more games from home, especially certain things which we'll get into in a bit, over actually attending. I mean, actually attending means you actually get to play some of the games or all of the games that are playable, depending on if you have the appointments, of course. But at least from this perspective, it's an interesting look into E3 and the games that were there that were shown, either during one of the many press conferences or one of the many first impressions and hands-on from other outlets. Yeah, so we're gonna start it off as we normally do. We start it off with news, but this week we're just gonna go all our E3 impressions, the games that were interesting to us, that caught our eyes, what we were excited about, what we were disappointed about, what we're looking forward to in the next year that was announced at E3. After which, we're going to go to our regular spiel of what we've been playing, and we end off with, of course, our hidden gems, which is going to be fun. So, Sean Templar, what did you feel? How did you feel? Actually, that's actually really good for a question. How did you feel about this year's E3 specifically?
Pure disappointment. I just wanted to cry constantly on the inside. And
But
it's
that's
not
just
because
because,
Sony wasn't there. It's actually
yeah,
because Sony
right.
wasn't there. They showed how bad it got. I mean, I don't know where to start. I was really looking forward to this E3, but I just cried myself to sleep every night and hoped it would pass very quickly because holy crap, I think this is one of the worst E3s I've ever had.
Wow, I will say that I'm not as disappointed as you are, mostly because I got to see a lot of cool stuff that A, I didn't expect, and B, I wanted to see more of. And the things that I did expect, I will admit some of them left a more disappointing taste in my mouth afterwards, but I'm not as disappointed as you are. I mean, you did feel like there was something missing from it all, with Sony not being there. It just felt like there was some. It you noticed that the presence of Sony was missing.
Let me put it this
Um,
way. It's like you're watching the Avengers and you're a huge Iron Man fan, and Iron Man isn't in the movie at all. That's how I felt. And I'm a huge Iron Man fan.
yeah, I mean, I guess you could. That is one way to
Let me
put
just put
it.
it this way: you're watching an Avengers movie, and your favorite hero isn't there, whereas you've kind of been expecting it. You've kind of seen him in all the trailers, and then you start watching the movie, and your favorite hero is either not there or he just shows up at the end, and there's like a minute of dialogue, and he just vanishes, and it's so disappointing. They're like, oh, okay, did I wait a year for this stuff? And now he just was there for like a minute and then he just poof and vanished. Okay. That's kind of how I felt. Because let me just put it this way. And a lot of outlets have been saying the same thing. I've been reading it online. The fact that Sony hasn't been here this year, and I'm not saying this as a Sony fan, this is just an
Mm,
honest opinion because I like the Microsoft press conference. is that you can notice the difference that Sony isn't there. So there weren't a lot of these oh my god announcement. Yeah, there were a few, but generally when you're watching the Sony press conference, besides the one they did last year, there were a lot of oh my god, wow, even moments. I remember the one when they did that with the Final Fantasy VII announcement and the Shenmue 3 announcement and the Last of Us footage and announcement. It was
Mm.
all in one E3. It was constantly a bombardment keeping your heart rate at the highest level, and you're like, okay, I don't know how they're going to surpass this, and then boom, they show Ghost of Tsushima or whatever, or the E3 they did in 2013 when they first announced the PS4, and then they showed a lot of stuff there, or the E3 they did with the orchestra with God of War there. Those wow moments, and a lot of developers, a lot of publishers played it really, really safe this year. This is a gap year. I've been saying it multiple times. It's a gap year. I mean, EA played it ultra safe. I liked what they showed with
Oh yeah,
Battlefield.
EA played it super
Yeah,
safe.
I like what they showed with Battlefield. I'm a huge Battlefield fan, as everybody knows by now. And I'm loving the way Jedi Fallen Order looks, but it's just the question of will they be able to deliver? So far, it looks like they have everything checked, and it's going to be an amazing game. Microsoft had a good E3 press conference, but it was a safe press conference. It was the expected part. It was almost an exact copy of their of their Xbox One X press conference they did 2 years ago or 3 years ago when they first announced that thing.
Yeah, 3 years
It's
ago.
really safe, and I do get them. But yeah, they had one of the cool announcements such as the Game Pass Ultimate and a little bit more info about XCloud. The Google Stadia press conference or Direct or Connect or whatever the hell they're calling it was a huge letdown because a lot of people online are saying, okay, this is so confusing. I have no idea what this is going to be because what we heard in February does not match what we heard right now. It's the complete opposite. So I kind of feel screwed over there. Um,
But no, but here's the thing with the at least with the Google Stadia thing, it's not the fact that the event itself was bad. The event itself or the digital event itself was fine.
yeah, that's
The
okay.
way it was structured was really good.
Yeah,
It's the messaging behind it and the messaging
it's
afterwards
so confusing.
is what brought on the confusion.
Yeah,
That's what brought
because
that
it
down.
literally contradicts what they said in February.
Exactly, yeah.
Because now I
So
need to buy my games on Stadia as well. Get out of
well,
here.
well, here's the thing. It's not that it contradicted. It's just that the information wasn't there in February. They just gave us like little bits and morsels, basically the stuff that people want to hear.
But they didn't do anything to counteract the messaging. They didn't say stuff like, "Hey, it's let's to be clear, it's not that Stadia is going to be a game subscription service and you're going to be playing our catalog." They didn't say stuff like that.
No,
They
because
didn't
they
do
said that they
anything to
were going to
counteract
announce it
it.
at a later date.
Yeah, but they
Because they,
kind of dug their own hole with this, and now they have to get out of the hole. And it's already a hole because it's Google. They're already 2 points behind, and now they're 10 points behind. But to be honest, because we're jumping here, but to be honest, the
Mhm.
impressions I've read and seen around Stadia are positive, even in a places the LA Convention Center with difficult Wi-Fi and stuff like that. Um, Stadia performed well. Project xCloud from Microsoft also performed well. Um,
Well, with Project X Cloud, at a certain point, they had to switch some of their stations to a wired Ethernet connection.
yeah,
So,
to be honest,
but
when that stuff comes out,
but
I would
the
want to play
server
it on
was not
board.
at E3.
Yeah, it was
At
a
least
data
according to them,
center.
the server it was a data center in
A lot of it
um,
was a pretty big distance.
Seattle. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And to be
So
honest, when I do play something like that, I would want it to go over Ethernet because that's the most stable option.
yeah, I mean, I think the only thing that didn't demo was um, the console server thing with Microsoft.
Yeah.
That's I think the only thing that didn't demo there, but I'm assuming it's basically the same as remote play
I think
for
that's the easiest thing to pull off. I think it's good that they tried to show off the external server part. Let me put it that way, because that's kind of
yeah.
where they have to prove themselves. I think the part about console streaming, I think they got that locked down, so they don't have to win people over with that. They have to show people like, hey, no matter where you are, if you have a reliable and fast connection, you can play this over Wi-Fi or Ethernet.
Yeah.
And they kind of did pull that off.
Yeah. I mean, I'm curious to try it out myself. Um, both to see both self, but I guess with Stadia, probably have to wait until November
And we can try
when
xCloud in October,
it's out. Is there a beta for that?
something like that.
I guess we can try it. Do you know where? I mean, I'm assuming you know where to sign up. Is there like a website for that?
They didn't announce any. I couldn't find anything around signing up, so I think it'll just the closer we get
Okay,
to October, we'll see.
so then it's basically something that we have to keep an eye out on.
Yeah,
All right, cool.
yeah.
Um, yeah. So I will say this though, at least in terms of the press conferences, it literally was it came in waves because we started off. Um, well, I'm not gonna count EA with this because they technically did not have a press conference. Um, let's start with Microsoft. So Microsoft, for the most part, was a decent press conference. Then we got Bethesda, which just completely ruined it all. The only saving, the only real saving grace for Bethesda was the director for what is it called again? Ghost.
The what game set in Tokyo? I mean,
Yeah,
yeah,
was it Ghostwire Tokyo?
something
I
like
think
that.
so. Something like
Yeah.
that. Yeah, the director for that game
You mean the creative
from
director?
yeah,
Yeah, she was really cool.
she was really cool.
Yeah.
That was it. E, 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 that damn it, I forgot her name. But yeah, she was really cool. Her Twitter blew up, by the way.
Yeah.
People were so enamored by her.
Oh, that's cool.
Her Twitter account just exploded in followers and in fan art with her on it, and she's like so overwhelmed by it and just very grateful for it. It's like there's a lot of adorable fan art of her.
That's cool to see. She
Yeah,
really did. When I saw it, I was like, okay, this is really fun. You know, she was
yeah.
genuine. She was funny.
But I'm curious about the game. That I mean, the concept trailer looked interesting enough.
That's another thing. There were a
Um,
lot of CG trailers to see through.
oh, there were a lot of concept trailers. Yeah, that was you really that coupled with the fact that a lot of the games are 2020 slated
Yeah.
it was a really telling thing this year.
You know
So
what
yeah,
worries me about that as well?
it was a gap year for them though.
The thing that worries me about the fact that we're in a gap year is that if the next gen consoles come out next year, which is probably going to happen, is that a lot of those games that are going to come out in the early part of the year will probably get a re-release on that next gen console, and then it'll be one of those versions that actually doesn't utilize the hardware, so it'll be a little bit more sharper or a little bit more better textures. Because I remember with Assassin's Creed Black Flag when it came out, and it came out the same year the PS4 came out, it
Mm,
was it looked a little bit better on the PS4, but it wasn't that huge of a difference, you know. And I'm afraid that we're still gonna have to wait at least 2 years to be able to see games that take potential or they utilize the power we get in those new consoles besides the first party games. Because
yeah.
I'm hoping that Guerrilla is gonna pull off something cool stuff and come up with a Horizon Zero Dawn 2 for the launch of the PS5. Because that would be so
Actually,
amazing.
do we know what they're working on
I think it's like it's almost confirmed that they're working on Horizon Zero Dawn 2.
for the PlayStation 5?
I think so. I don't know so, but I think so.
All right.
Yeah.
Um, hmm.
Well, yeah. We were talking about
I
Bethesda.
I feel like we should be stalking some canals in Amsterdam and hopefully bump into one of the Guerrilla Games guys.
Yeah. And maybe jump by Sony Ninja.
Quick side note: I did bump into Herman Hulst a couple of years ago
Really?
at the launch of the Switch.
What?
Yeah, he came into the same game store. I'm not gonna mention the game store, but he came into the same game store and he was there to pick up his.
Switch.
Am I saying it? He was. I think he was either there to pick up his copy of his Switch or his copy of Zelda. One
I
of the two.
spoke to him a couple of months ago. Oh no, not a couple of months ago. It was the same year. It was a couple of months before Horizon Zero Dawn came out. So it's almost 2 years ago. And I said, "Hey man, you're Herman Hulst, right? The studio head of Guerrilla Games." He said, "Yep, that's me. I'm really looking forward to Horizon Zero Dawn. It really looks cool." And then he gave me one of those gamer responses or stuff like that because it really felt weird. He
What?
said something like, "Well, and I can't wait to get back to the studio and finish that game." And I thought, I'm not a little kid, man. I'm just giving you a compliment around your game, which you were probably really proud of, and it's cool that you listen to me. But it's kind of strange that you treat me like I'm some little kid slash
I
fan. I mean,
I
I can get it
think
from his point of view. I'm just trying to, give the guy some recognition
yeah, but where was this?
at a place that I cannot disclose.
Okay, so then
It was not a
I'm a
game event or something like that.
yeah, but I'm assuming that if you just ran into him and you're not someone that he knows or knows from like an outlet or anything, then he's gonna give a canned response just in case he doesn't mess up and and spoil something about the game.
But if he would have said stuff like, "Oh, cool, man, thanks," or "Oh, man, good to hear that. I think you'll really like it," or something like that. But the way that he said,
Or maybe
"And
he
I
was really
can't
looking
wait
forward to
to,"
going back.
and I can't wait to get back to the studio to finish the game. Like, well, okay, that's super awkward that you would talk to me like that. Because I can't, if I talk like this for the whole podcast, people would switch it off in 2 minutes because I can't wait to finish this podcast. Oh, well, I don't hope he listens to this because then I might have ruined our only chance of doing an interview with him ever.
Nah,
If you are sorry.
but he was cool with me, so maybe he won't talk to you anymore, but he'll definitely talk to me.
Well, I'll eat my shoe the day he does an interview with you and doesn't want to talk to me.
Oh, a little FYI, the developer was called Ikumi Nakamura.
Hmm.
Yeah, totally adorable, by the way.
I have the
Totes.
idea that Nakamura is one of those De Vries or Janse last names that we have in Dutch. Nakamura is like I feel
Mm,
like it's one of those.
maybe I'm not sure. I mean, it is something that semi is you see here often. I don't know. Maybe it is. Maybe it is. I have no idea. Yeah. So yeah, no Sony. Still weird.
Yeah.
I'm
Begs the
assuming that
question
they'll
if
be
they're
back next year,
gonna.
though.
I'm kind of hoping that they're gonna do a PlayStation Experience this year because they didn't do one last year. Because that would be awesome if they did a PlayStation Experience. Generally, PlayStation Experience is in November, December, so that would be cool if they did one this year and then go all out with
Yeah,
PlayStation info like
yeah, but
PS5
as
info.
I don't know, man. I mean, I've said it before that considering that this is a in between year, I don't think they're gonna waste the effort with that. I think they're gonna focus on the state of plays for this year.
Think about it. If they did a PlayStation Experience in December, they go out with some info around PS5, kind of like what they did with the PS4 event in February of that year. Meaning you have 6 months before E3 is around the corner. So you'll have people talking around about your PlayStation for 6 months a minimum, and people will actually have seen stuff. So the anticipation will build. Then at E3, you either show the console or you do it before that, you announce pricing and you give games a release date and you show your future portfolio. Then the buzz increases even more. And then holiday you announce your release date, and then your holiday season is building up and people are getting even more excited. I think that would be a grand slam or a home run or whatever you want to call it.
6 months is way too big of a lead up. It's way too big.
No, but it's in the between those 6 months they'll probably do state of plays as well. But like
Yeah,
when they
but
need to start this hype machine this year, I didn't catch that. Okay, that's strange. Suddenly my Siri started talking to me.
thanks, Siri.
Yeah. Okay, that's weird.
Yeah, Siri wanted to chime in. Maybe you should ask her what she thought of E3.
Let's try it.
No, not that actually. I'm not asking you to do that right now.
No, you don't want to know what Siri is saying because I can. She'll probably
Nah,
say,
man,
"I don't know what you're talking about. I have no idea."
it's all good,
Yeah.
man. Games that caught your eye.
Um, 12 minutes is one I'm really looking forward to. The one announced by Microsoft, the interactive thriller that really looked cool.
You had to start with the one that makes me wet myself.
Yeah, that one really looked cool. I'm really looking forward to that one. Um, Ghost Recon Breakpoint. I'm really looking forward to that one because it really looks like an evolution of Wildlands. Because Wildlands was
Hmm.
this open world uh, tactical shooter, and now it looks like there's. I saw some gameplay and walkthroughs, and it looks like there's far more RPG mechanics in there, and they've deepened out the systems. For example, when you're resting, you can craft items such as syringes and stuff like that, but you can also uh, do stuff with your weapons like clean barrels, or it look like something like that, clean barrels, or makes minor adjustments to your weapons which give you bonus stats such as +5 accuracy and stuff like that. So it looks like there's a bit more depth behind the mechanics instead of just go in there and kill them all. Watch Dogs Legion looked really nice. I'm really looking forward to that one.
All
And
right.
um,
You're also looking forward to the mechanical spiders.
ugh, I hate the spiders.
But
Uh,
we are all looking forward to playing as a granny who just walks up to a dude and shoots them in the face,
Definitely, definitely, yeah.
wearing a creepy clown's mask.
Yeah. And then, of course, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order is looking really cool. Um,
Same, same.
I'm really looking forward to the Battlefield improvements that's coming out between now and the fall because they've announced their roadmap again and they're kind of gonna gradually bring out more content, such as new maps. And then in the fall, we're finally getting the Pacific Theater, which is gonna be so awesome.
Hmm.
Um, yeah. Am I forgetting something? I'm thinking it was cool to see that Nintendo announced Breath of the Wild sequel, but you'll probably talk about that a
Yes.
lot more in a bit. It was cool to see that Square Enix announced the Final Fantasy VIII remake.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's cool.
Not a big fan. I will say this: not a big fan of Final Fantasy VIII. Love the soundtrack.
Hmm.
The gameplay, however,
It's the first Final Fantasy game I played, so I'm looking forward to it.
it's an. I will say this: it's an acquired taste, and that's that's all I'm gonna say about the battles mechanics of Final Fantasy VIII. It's an
Okay.
acquired taste.
Yeah. I saw some
Yeah,
screenshots around how the remastered version looks compared to the
it's
old version.
clean.
It really looks
It's
nice.
really
There's
clean.
some
Yeah.
definitely visible improvement there. Um, yeah, the
Anything else?
Microsoft press conference. I'm thinking of stuff I saw there, but I'm not a huge Gears of War fan, so I'm not really that. And I'm also not a very big Halo fan, even though Halo is
None of
going
the
to some
indie
extent.
titles tickled your fancy?
Not really. I'm not. Yeah, I have a really specific indie taste. So there wasn't really anything there that I think the Horizon, the Forza Horizon Lego stuff really looked cool. Um, the Lego Star Wars Skywalker Saga looked fun.
Ooh, that's gonna be interesting.
Yeah.
Apparently, they are changing a lot of stuff. It's not just a rehash of the games that came out previously.
Oh, that's nice.
They're actually changing how it plays.
Yeah, because
So
it's all nine movies.
yeah, because eight did not like the Last Jedi did not get a Lego game.
Yeah, and
So
probably
that
and
that's
probably
getting one
Rise of
for the first
Skywalker
time
as
in this
well.
bundle. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to see how that plays. I think they're also not including the voice clips from the movies. So they're going back to pantomiming again, which is honestly I prefer
It works
that
better for these kind of
because
games.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and yeah, of course, Cyberpunk 2077 looks cool, but that game impressed a lot of people last year, and a lot of the stuff that I read and saw is that, of course, people are excited for Cyberpunk 2077. It just didn't have the impact it had last year, but it's more of what they it's a thing around like, okay, we know this game is coming, we know it's going to be amazing, we want to see more, and now we just want it to be over and we want to actually play the game.
Yeah. I mean again, it's one of those many games that got honestly announced way too early,
Yeah,
and maybe also got shown a little bit too early. But they kind of put themselves in that position because again they announced it too early. Um, I will say this though. Here's the thing. So of all the things that were like with Nintendo aside, of all the things that for me was the most interesting and the most fun were the indie stuff.
hmm,
I mean, um, here's the thing that I find a little bit disappointing for most gamers that I talk to is that they don't look at indie games as big titles, and most of them aren't, but that doesn't mean they're not good games. And most of them actually give way more compelling gameplay experiences than even some of the AAA counterparts.
definitely.
I mean, look at stuff that came in before, like the Her Story, or um, what is it again? Gone
Something,
Home, or What
something
Remains of
over
Edith
Din.
Finch, Legend of the Oberdin,
Yeah, or Firewatch. Yeah,
or Firewatch. I
yeah,
mean, this E3 had, I think, the most amount of indie games that I have seen ever displayed, mostly because of the kind of funny showcase, and also Devolver Digital having their own, of course, digital event. But also Microsoft and Nintendo also showcased a lot of indie titles
yeah.
during their press conference.
I think
Square Enix tried. I mean, the one of the games that they showed was interesting. The super, what was it called again? Supercar, supercar superstar, something like the slot car racing machine. Kind of looks like RC Pro Am. That one looked interesting, but the other one, the one that was, I think, was called Battle, not Battlefield. That's Dice.
Battlefield
I forgot what it's called. Also
Battalion
starts with Battle.
1944.
Yeah, Battalion. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't see that
Which
one.
is
I
this?
saw it yesterday, but it looks like Call of Duty in World War II.
It's basically that, but as a esports
Yeah,
game.
because
So
when I saw the footage yesterday, it really looked like it's Modern Warfare with a World War II skin on it. Fast paced
yeah,
gameplay, stuff like that. I talked to a friend
yeah, that was.
today and I said, hey, is that something we should look at? And he said, no, man, it's not something we should look at.
Then we will move on. All
Yeah.
right.
Any disappointing ones?
Um, well, I haven't even talked about the games that I actually enjoyed.
Oh, my bad, my bad. I thought you were there already. My bad.
No, 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 no. Because I want to highlight a couple of games. Actually, I really wish I could highlight some of the more indie titles. I didn't list it up, unfortunately. Um, yeah. So things that really grabbed my attention, of course, there were a bunch of. I would recommend this if you're listening to this right now. If you haven't checked out the Kind of Funny showcase, I recommend you check it out because there were a lot of amazing indie titles that were shown there of a lot of different genres. So there's definitely a game in there that will tickle your fancy and will at least get you interested enough to pick up one of these games. And they tend to be on the cheaper side because they're not AAA €60, €70 games or $60, $70 games. They're mostly $15, $20, sometimes maybe $25 experiences, and you'll get an awesome kick out of it. Some of them even had shadow drops, some of them even had beta testing. One of the games that I will want to talk about is real quick is Skatebird. I don't know if you've seen that one, but that is literally a cute little. You're playing as a cute little bird on a tech deck. You know those small little finger skateboards.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little bird skateboarding on one of those things
Okay.
through handmade, through a small like skateboard park. It is awesome. It has a beta on PC. I haven't downloaded yet, but I'm gonna do that. So I'll give you guys a what you've been playing report on that. Um, Other than that, a lot of things that you already mentioned also caught my eye that was really interesting. Um, yeah, Microsoft had a lot. From me, Microsoft had a lot of indie titles that I was really looking forward to. Ori and Will of the Wisp, beautiful game. Looking forward to that. Um, yeah, I mean, Cyberpunk 2077. Everybody's looking forward to that, including myself. That's more because I'm an RPG kind of guy, and I like those kind of things where you can just choose whatever decision you make, and it has an impact on
Apparently,
what you
you can
do.
finish the game without killing anybody.
Actually, I heard that that was not going to be the case, and people made us think about that.
Am I confusing this with something else? Because I thought I read it yesterday
No,
somewhere.
no, no, no. You're right. I'm saying that this was originally not going to be the case
Oh,
because it was asked. I think they asked CD Projekt Red about that last year because there were people that were comparing it to Deus Ex,
yeah,
and Deus Ex has the option where you can go the complete passive route and not kill anybody.
yeah.
And at that point, they were like, "No, come hell or high water, you are going to hurt people, whatever decision you make. So there's not going to be any kind of passive route." And people got upset about that. So I think, if I'm not mistaken, is that they are trying to work it in so that you can do it. But if they're doing this now, it's gonna take a while for them to fully implement it. So I don't know if it's going to make it when the game launches, because that is a really big task you'd have to put into if the game was not built for it.
I wonder if they're going to be able to hit their release date because they said that a lot of the systems in the game are there, but they're not done yet. So they don't have everything defined yet, such as the character creation tool. It's in there, but it's not done yet. And there are systems in the game they are currently evaluating to see if it will work or not, or if they want to keep it in or not. But the game's got a release date for April, so I'm really curious to see if they're gonna get that release date
Yeah,
or if they're gonna push it again.
they got time.
Yeah,
They got time. I mean, as long as they pace themselves, they have the time to do it. And as long as feature creep doesn't become a thing at the end, they should be able to hit that target. But again, I'd rather have a game be delayed than it coming out rushed. Other than that, not a lot of things that grab my eye. I am looking forward to the Lego expansion
Watch Horizon.
in Forza Horizon. So that's literally the only reason why I picked up the Xbox Game Pass for my PC. For a buck. What else? The things that mostly grabbed my attention was at Sony's press conference because, yeah, Watch Dogs. Of course, I'm curious about Legion as well.
Did you just say Sony's
Um,
press conference?
no, I
I
no,
think
I
you
said
meant
Square
you.
Enix.
Oh, Square Enix.
Yeah.
Oh, it sounded like you said Sony press conference.
Wow, you really are having withdrawal issues.
Uh,
No, but Square Enix is one probably next to the Kind of Funny showcase and Nintendo's Direct are the things that caught my eye the most. Of course, Final Fantasy VII. I'm actually really looking forward. I heard like this. I will recommend this. Look up Maximilian Dude on YouTube. He has a retelling of his experience actually playing the game, and he explains it that what we saw on stage, like actually being able to experience this, is like a whole new level. Especially if you're a Final Fantasy VII fan, that game is going to work for you on so many levels. Even though it's just the Midgar part, they are expanding the ever loving crap out of it, and just the game is just really gorgeous and it plays. Well, it sounds weird, and I really would like to play that same demo that he was talking about because it sounded really interesting. I was skeptical even when they were showing it, and I'm not the biggest Final Fantasy VII fan, but after I heard that explanation, I was like, "Yo, I need to check this out."
to be honest, and I was thinking about this the other day, I'm in doubt if I want to buy Final Fantasy VII when the game comes out, or because I was thinking, okay, maybe I should just wait until the other part comes out, whenever that will be, and then play them in
Yeah.
one go. And then I thought, yeah, okay, but I'm part of a gaming podcast, and I cannot pull it off by saying, "Oh, well, I'm gonna not play Final Fantasy VII because that would be weird."
Yeah, we can do it through SharePlay.
Yeah, yeah, but I mean, I don't want to play the game, and I rather would want to wait till the whole game comes out, or all the episodes, or whatever they're gonna do, and then play it all in one go instead of buying whatever comes out next year, playing the Midgard part, and then waiting a couple of years. And then I thought,
Well,
well, I can't do that because it's yeah, yes, I don't know how I'll feel by then, but
considering that this first game is a full-fledged JRPG, and full-fledged JRPG can be anywhere between 50 to 100 hours, I don't think that that's a good idea.
okay, we'll just have to wait.
Other than that, yeah, well, most of Nintendo's Direct was just. Ugh. I mean, I already talked about this before in our previous episode covering this, but Trials of Mana, oh my god, that game looks freaking amazing. I watched the Nintendo Treehouse event for it, and just like the game looks so freaking pretty and looks like it plays so smoothly. The only downside is that they removed the multiplayer aspect from that version, which is quite the letdown. But at least it's intact in the collection, which comes with the other two Mana games. So I'm happy as a clam with that. I've been waiting 25 years for that game to finally get a release date in the West. So, I mean,
Wow.
I played the fan translation for it with my cousin because we played Secret of Mana together. We finished it together. Um, but yeah, I mean, we've tried finishing it, and yeah, we never got around to it. So, at least hopefully this time I can actually finish the game. I have the collection, so I'm gonna play that. The collection shadow drop was also like a big thing for me. They showed more off from Astral Chain, which looks mega baller. Um, what else? We're not going to even talk about Resident Evil because seriously,
Link's Awakening.
um, Link's. Oh, good grief! The fact that I even almost forgot about Link's Awakening. That looks so freaking beautiful. If you have a heart, that'll look beautiful to you. Um,
Imagine that on a big ass TV. That
Yo,
would
that's
really
gonna look
nice.
so pretty.
Yeah.
That's gonna look so pretty. The one thing that is kind of worrying to me is that, according to some impressions, when you're in the dungeon, the frame rate is rock solid.
Hmm.
But when you're in the overworld and it's like big patches and not just like a square,
Yeah.
the frame rate seems to take a hit,
Oh,
which is really weird considering the art style.
maybe they
I
haven't
don't know if
optimized
it's
it yet.
I don't know if it's the lighting engine that's making the frame rate dip. I honestly don't know. The game comes out in I want to say 2 months.
What,
I think
September,
it
right?
was, yeah, I think it was coming out in
This
September,
is
so
almost a
2 to 3
month.
months. So, with it going to master and going gold,
They probably have
give or
one
take
month.
2 months
Yeah,
development,
well, maybe 1 month left till they have the
or maybe
models.
a day one patch that would fix it. I don't know,
Yeah.
but
Does Nintendo do that? They won't patches?
depending on the game,
Okay.
but mostly they don't.
Yeah, because for
Most
example,
of the
with
time they don't.
The Witcher 3 coming to Switch, they said that in docked mode, the game is going to be sub 720p, and in docked mode, it's going to be
Yeah,
dynamic,
it's a dynamic
yeah, dynamic
resolution all
720p.
around.
It's
Yeah,
kind of a bummer, but yeah,
makes sense.
yeah.
On the other hand, I mean, I saw an interview from the I think the UI designer from CD Projekt Red. I mean, they seem to be impressed with it, or not impressed with. They seem to be happy with the results.
I mean,
I
the
mean,
fact that you can
getting
play
that
that game on the go is amazing.
exactly. That's the whole driving point for that one. Other than that, oh my god, there was way too many games, man. Good grief. Um, the DLC announcements, of course, for Smash Brothers, Dragon Quest Hero, Banjo Kazooie,
Dragon Quest
people
Builders.
going complete bananas over or over the characters. Here's the funny thing, though. Weird controversy. Of course, I want to go back to that, but first, Breath of the Wild 2, amazing. Looking forward to it. And there was one more game there in there that I was really. No More Heroes 3. Oh my freaking god, that looks so well. I think that was a cinematic trailer all around, but they at least showed some simulated gameplay, which is seems to be true to the previous two titles, which were amazing.
Deus
So I'm
Ex
looking
Machina
forward to
also looked
that.
nice.
Deus Ex Machina actually looked like the frame rate was a bit better, but I'm not 100% sure, which is kind of worrying. The gameplay itself is good. Like if you play it, it's not a bad game. It's a fun game. The frame rate is another problem altogether.
Yeah.
But who knows? It's coming out in about a month and a half, so we'll see it that
I,
then.
I think Nintendo's
Um,
the only company that's bringing out a lot of games this year and a lot of good
yo,
games.
my wallet was crying at the end of that direct because most of the games that they announced was between now and the end of September.
Yeah,
I mean, they don't like, with the exception of Pokemon coming out in November, they basically don't have anything between the end of September and November 15th.
yeah.
At least not that I'm aware of. So hopefully in around September there'll be another direct that announces like what we're gonna see moving up to the holiday season. But other than that, there's like a ton of games coming out in between.
Yeah,
Fire Emblem, Link's Awakening, Astral Chain, Deus Ex Machina. I am missing stuff. I'm just yeah. The direct was crazy. Um, but yeah, I mean there were some disappointments for me in there. Um, Contra looked just ugly. The funny thing is that people have said that other than the fact that it doesn't look that appealing, the gameplay is actually kind of fun, but it's not Contra gameplay.
yeah.
So, eh. Other than that, Crystal
Avengers.
Chronicles finally got a date. No, well, it still didn't get a date. Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles. It's coming out this winter, but it's also coming out on mobile. So that remaster probably is not gonna look that great because they have to factor that in. It does have online multiplayer, and I'm not sure if that is cross-platform because
Okay.
it's coming out on Switch, PS4, and mobile platforms. I hope it would be. They also haven't said if it also supports local multiplayer, which would be weird if the Switch version at least didn't have that.
I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah,
Avengers look disappointing.
Avengers look disappointing. Marvel Ultimate Alliance, however,
Look really nice.
people are suddenly like, oh, maybe I'll pick that one
That's
up
also coming
instead
out
because
this
that
year,
at least
right?
looks good.
Yeah.
At least that looks accurate.
Yeah. You know what the problem with that game is? It's been a game that's been in development for so long, and the studios that are behind the game have a really good proven track record. But for
it
example,
just looks it just looks
yeah,
off.
because for
That's the
example, the
problem.
character design, it doesn't look like, and I'm not expecting MCU lookalikes, but it doesn't look like, for example, Tony Stark doesn't look like a Tony Stark I would expect. It kind of felt
No,
like the way Japanese people interpret or see Western people. That if they were to make it, oh, if I were to make a Western guy, this is probably how he look. You know, like a really rich guy, a really big American rich guy. You know, but it's
no.
that, and there's so many conflicting messages around. Will it have multiplayer? Will it have co-op? How will it look?
Oh no, there will be
I
multiplayer. It's
know,
the
but
it's the
it's
question
not
of
really clear
single
on how
player
that
like
will
that.
be.
But
And
people are also comparing it to at least from reports here and there that they're comparing it to Destiny, like the
no,
the
I
the
don't
the,
know.
the gameplay structure of
Yeah,
Destiny.
because
So it's a single player thing, and you can have hop in, hop out
from what
multiplayer
I
aspect
read,
of it.
it's the multiplayer part is side missions you can do with your friends. It's not that you can play the main game with a friend. That's what I
Okay, I
read.
hadn't heard.
Yeah,
I
so
hadn't heard that.
for example, that why would I want to play side missions with my friends? I want to play the whole game or the main experience. I don't care about side missions. And when they announced it, I believe it was an open world game, and now it's not. It's definitely not an open world game.
They did? Are you sure about
I
that?
think
Because
they
I didn't
announced it
hear
as an
anything
open world
about
game
that.
at the time.
I don't think so.
I,
I don't know. I don't think I don't know because there was like little known about that. Um, but yeah, wrapping up my thoughts here real quickly. To me, between the indie games that I saw that got me really excited, I'll have to look up the list again. I'll totally highlight them in a future podcast because they need to be highlighted, in my opinion. Um, and the stuff that I saw, it's clearly a transitional time. But at the very least, if you're a Nintendo fan and if you got a Switch, you got a plenty of games to choose between now and the end of the year. Plenty of things to play. Enough for you to last. I don't know, two E3s at least. Because unless your wallet can handle it, I think your wallet is going to be really angry if you try to buy all those games.
yeah.
uh,
I mean, I'm looking forward to Death Stranding this year. Whoop, whoop.
I
Still don't know what
just
that game's about, but yeah.
the only thing I'm gonna say about Death Stranding is just keep your expectations in check because if it ends up being even a little bit disappointing, you're gonna get a lot of disappointed.
Yeah. And I mean, I think Sony's gonna do a state of play really soon and announce a release date for The Last of Us. It's the rumor circuit is constantly saying it's going to be Q1 2019. And today I saw a report that Ghost of Tsushima is also coming out next year. And I'm like, yes, yes.
Well, they have to do it, man. They have to. At the very least, those two games have to come out before they announce the new system. Because if it doesn't come out before they announce the new system, it's gonna take the sales out of the sales figures for those games.
Yes and no, because I mean, if they, for example, was it during the PS2 era? I think when God of War 2 came out, the PS3 had already come out, I believe, or it was just before the PS3 came out. But the benefit of doing something like that is that even though you come up with a new system and you keep supporting your old system, it it's not a bad move because um, I mean, there are almost 100 million PS4s out there. If they bring this
Yeah,
game out after the new PlayStation comes out, it's not necessarily a bad move because those 100 million people can say, you know what, I'll buy this game instead of buying a new console and have no games for it at all.
yeah, but considering the fact that the next PlayStation is going to be backwards compatible, wouldn't you try to drive that?
I don't know.
Especially if it's going to enhance the experience over your PlayStation 4 or PlayStation 4 Pro.
And we'll just have to wait and see. But I think Last of Us 2 is going to come out early next year. I keep mentioning this every episode because it only feels like that's the only card I can play because that's almost the only thing we know that Sony's working on. Last of Us 2 and Ghost of Tsushima, and the rest is all speculation. I'm
Well, the
hope
rest is all third
Yeah,
party.
I'm hoping that Sony comes up with the Gran Turismo for the new PlayStation because it's been a few years since we've got a Gran Turismo game.
That's still a thing.
Yeah, and the funny thing is the developer Polyphony Digital has been constantly supporting the game almost I think every month with updates, new cars, new tracks, new features. So Gran Turismo Sport has grown out to become a pretty big game, but we just need a new Gran Turismo by now because we need just new stuff, you know.
All right. I
Yeah.
mean, we'll see. I'm assuming that if they're gonna announce a new Gran Turismo, it will probably be at next E3 when they, showcase the new system. Um, cool. All right. Do you have any other last remarks before we head on to the next segment?
You didn't mention the Outer Worlds, but I'm happy you didn't because I have a feeling well, that's Fallout. Ugh.
I think I traumatized you enough with the spider talk, so I
Yeah,
think you're good.
yeah.
But I am looking forward to that one too. Yeah,
It's coming out this year, so I'll see how it is before
that is
buying.
at least a title that's coming out this year.
Yeah, yeah. Surprisingly,
Yeah. All right. Well, that's it for our first big segment. Stick around, and we'll be back with what we've been playing.
All right, all right, all right. Welcome back, everybody. Now we're gonna talk about what you've been playing. So, Maximilian, what you been playing?
I've been playing a lot of stuff actually the past couple of weeks. Even though we're not at 3-3, doesn't mean that that we don't stop playing games. Um, the thing that I've been playing the most recently was the aforementioned Shadow Dropped. Well, not Shadow Drop because it actually came out a couple of days later. Cadence of Hyrule. Okay, I have to say the full title at least once because it is just ridiculous. Cadence of Hyrule, Crypt of the Necrodancer, featuring The Legend of Zelda. Try saying that 3 times fast.
Uh,
But long ass title aside, it is probably one of the most fun I've had with a rhythm game in a very long time.
I
And
haven't
this is
played.
because
If you can just briefly tell me what it's about.
have you played Crypt of the Necrodancer before?
No.
All right, so elevator pitch. A rhythm game that's also an action adventure. Well,
Oh,
actually no, a rhythm game that's a roguelike.
that sounds cool.
Well, if have you played Rogue Legacy or Sharon the Wanderer
I've
or
never heard of
the
this game.
no, of course you haven't. You don't play stuff on Nintendo games. Um,
No.
yeah, you obviously also never played Pokemon Mystery Dungeon.
Oh,
But basically it's like those games, but with a rhythm aspect to it. So the music dictates how not just you move, but how your enemies move, and your enemies move when you do, and you
hmm.
have to move to the beat to land a hit. And
Okay.
whenever you land a hit, you build up a multiplier, and the multiplier um, adds to the flow of the rhythm, and the rhythm gets more intense. The flow gets more intense, and you actually be. And the point is to get as in sync to a point where you're just hitting, 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 dodging, hitting, hitting, hitting until your enemy is defeated.
Okay.
And it basically, Cadence of Hyrule is a very unique game in the sense that it's an indie title using Nintendo properties. In this case, The Legend of Zelda. So it takes place in Hyrule, as the name suggests, but you can not just play as Cadence, the main character from Crypt of the Necrodancer. You actually start off with either Zelda or Link. So in the beginning, when you start the game, it shows you the story, starts the cutscene, and it sets up the game, and at a certain point after the tutorial area, you get to choose who you want to start off as. So you can either choose Zelda or you can choose Link. And depending on who you choose, your starting point in Hyrule is different.
That's cool.
From that point on, you're playing as that character until you find the other two characters in the game, and then you can play as them as well. They all have unique weapons, although Cadence and Link share a similar tool set. So those two play similarly, and Zelda's plays uniquely because Zelda can use more magic spells that are from, of course, the Legend of Zelda games. The items are also mostly from the Legend of Zelda games, reimagined, of course. The enemies have been reimagined to fit this gameplay style, which is really cool. It starts off really simple with a bunch of chews in the overworld, um, but they're also modeled after the monsters in Crypt of the Necrodancers. So, for example, the green chews are like the green slimes in Crypt of the Necrodancer that just hop in place to the beat. So they're very easy to hit, and it's a very easy target practice to stay on beat. The other one are blue slimes or blue chews, which only move up and down on the beat. So as long as you get the timing, you can always hit them without them hitting you and damaging you. And then it gets more complex from that. The bokoblins add a little twist to it where before they strike, they lift up their arms and then they jump. And when they jump is when they strike. So as long as you pay attention to that, you can hit it and you hit it on the rhythm. It's just
It sounds like a lot of
it
fun.
is it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. I was playing it on day one, and a friend of mine was playing on day one. He's already finished it
Oh man,
within, I think, 24 hours of the game releasing.
that's not
Not to
good,
say that the game is short.
man.
The game is short in the sense that there are a few bosses before you get to the last boss, the last dungeon, which is, I'm not gonna spoil that. Um, but the world is big, and it is all about learning to stay on rhythm. And even though there are a lot, the other thing is that the tracks are remixed Zelda tracks, and they're so good. I was humming the Gerudo Valley remix in my head this entire day at work
Wow.
because it's just like the rhythm is just so awesome. And if you've heard Gerudo Valley before from Ocarina of Time, it's that version, but then remixed, and then you're playing to the beat of that song, and it's just so satisfying when you get into that perfect rhythm where you have a bunch of enemies coming towards you from all sides, and you're just nailing them one after the other, or using Link's spin attack to attack them all at the same time in rhythm to the beat, and it just feels like this connective synergy to it. It is so cool. if you are if you're a Legend of Zelda fan and if you have a Switch, pick it up. Don't care what you think about it. Just because you think it's an indie title, it's a really good game. It's a really good game, and I really hope that Nintendo does more of these collaborations with indie developers because, as we've seen before, am I saying that correctly? Last year, last year or the year before, when Sonic Mania came out, just because they're indie developers doesn't mean that they can't do a good job of making a game for a big publisher like Sega or Nintendo. Sonic Mania proved it for Sega. Cadence of Hyrule proves it for Nintendo. So I hope that whoever is out there that's able to do a F-Zero for Nintendo, please make an F-Zero for Nintendo. Like, pitch it to them. I don't care. Or make a really good futuristic racing game that impresses Nintendo because they were impressed with um, Crypt of the Necrodancer. Like, Miyamoto himself actually plays Crypt of the Necrodancer, and he was very addicted to the game. That's one of the reasons why they actually got that opportunity to do that. So
Wow.
hopefully we see more opportunities like this pop up. We've seen Nintendo collaborate more and more with third party developers, especially with Ubisoft, with these kind of things, like with Mario and Rabbids Kingdom Battle and the Starlink game with the Star Fox content. So hopefully we see more of that kind of stuff in the future. Um, that was the thing that I've been playing the most. I have been playing other stuff. I'm inching closer to the end finally to Horizon Zero Dawn.
Oh my god.
I've actually reached the point where I know what the whole backstory of that game's universe is.
It's cool, right?
And it's cool, but it's so gosh darn depressing because
Yeah.
it kind of feels close to home in a futuristic
Yeah.
aspect, of course. I mean, we're nowhere, thank goodness, we're nowhere near that kind of level of technology that they were talking about there. But it is scary how close we are to that kind of stuff.
I
Like
like
if
the
you live,
twist
if
in the
you,
game. I didn't expect the game to go there because I expected when they were talking about Project Zero Dawn, like, okay, they're just gonna find a fix for the solution and they're just gonna do something and then something might go wrong and that's why you're who you are playing what you're doing. And when I kind of found out that they are just gonna come up with this super crazy last resort solution without spoiling too much stuff. I'm like,
yeah.
okay, that's cool. I didn't expect this to happen.
Well, see, here's the thing. I kind of did. I didn't expect how far it was going to go
Yeah.
because it was what I was expecting, but the level of just how do I say this without spoiling it? Um, it is difficult. Based Basically, if you've played it, you'll know what I'm talking about. But it goes into a place where you wouldn't expect it to go, and the consequences of the decisions that they made to initiate that project
Yeah.
and what happened after that
Yeah.
is what is the thing that was actually really not bittersweet,
It's a bad ending in a
but
way, and I kind of like that.
it's very sad.
Yeah.
Is basically what it is. It's very sad. Um, but I'm inching closer to the end of that, so I'll give you guys my full impressions of that when I finish it. Hopefully, in the next 2 weeks, I should be done with that. In the
Wonderful.
meantime, thanks to E3 stuff, they always tend to discount stuff uh, for gaming. Like Nintendo had their big, of course, eShop sale, so I actually bought a bunch of games that I haven't played yet, but I bought them during E3 week from the eShop, and I also bought the Division 2, which was on sale,
I know.
which you recommended.
Yes, I'm happy you
Um,
bought the game.
It took almost 75 gigabytes to install, but I got the sucker installed. Um, and I started playing it a little bit. I'm level 5 right now. I'm still in the early stuff.
Hmm.
It's the gameplay still feels as good as we did when we did the beta.
Yeah, right?
Um, but like a game that I was recently talking about, um, actually, it's something that we talked about last week, Resident Evil 5.
Hmm.
It feels like that. Well, it doesn't feel like that game, but it feels like how that game is, and that is that it feels way better when you're playing co-op
Yeah, it's a game
with
made
that
to be
game.
played co-op. You can
It's
play
a
it
game to be made
alone,
with play.
but
You can't play it alone, but I'm gonna be completely honest. I died a lot. Like I died a lot, and the problem. The thing with dying a lot in Division 2 is it's not an issue if you're playing with someone because
people get
that person can
revived.
revive you,
Yeah.
but I don't know, man. It doesn't work if you're doing it single player. And I know you can send out, a distress beacon and someone can come help you, but I kind of didn't feel like playing with strangers
Yeah, I know what you mean.
because the thing is because I was playing it in little bursts and I didn't want to get a stranger's help only to be like, oh yeah, thank you, but I'm just gonna finish this real quick and go offline. I didn't want to be rude,
Yeah.
if that makes sense to you. So hopefully we can play that together soon. Other than that, um, I have dabbled into other stuff like I said, I bought on the eShop on discount. The Contra collection came out. They shadow dropped that on the day of the direct, so I got that. I also, as I said before, got the Secret of Mana collection, and I started playing the Mana games, the first one
Yay.
and Secret of Mana.
Okay.
So, Final Fantasy Adventure and Secret of Mana. I haven't started on Trials of Mana yet. It's just my precious little baby that I just want to take my sweet time to play. Maybe I'll do a little bit of a gameplay thing on our YouTube channel. Um,
Which is
but that's a game
gonna
that I like
happen
fully
soon.
wanna. I just fully want to immerse myself when that time comes.
Yeah.
That game. So yeah. So that's what I've been playing. So what about you, Sean Templar, who was on vacation, who had lots of time to play games?
I wasn't in the country, so the only things that I have been able to play is I played a lot of Sport Manager on my Mac.
Gee, if you only had a system that you could take with you wherever you went, I could play full as console games.
Yeah, that's called
Gee,
a
I
laptop, and later
wonder.
this year it'll be called Goose Stadia or Project X Cloud.
Oh yeah, I'm sure that wherever you were in your neck of the woods, Google Stadia would work perfectly.
With the 8 megabit connection that I had, I think I'd be able to play that in 4K 60 FPS in HDR.
Oh wow, that was quite an adventure
I was
for you.
actually afraid that we couldn't record this podcast. So eventually I started to think about emergency solutions. So I ran into a phone shop. I said, yo, I need a SIM card with just data on it. And the guy said, okay, how much data do you need? So give me as much as you can. I said, okay, I can do 10 gigs. I said, no, that's not enough. And he said, what? Well, why is that not enough? Doesn't matter. I need more. I said, I can't do more. Okay, screw this. Run to another store. I need a lot of gigs. I need a lot of data, more than 10 gigs. He said, what? Why do you need more than 10 gigs? It doesn't matter. Give me more. He said, oh, I can only do 12. Not enough. Run to another store. Yo, I need more data. Can you do more than 12 gigs? What? Why do you need 12 gigs? And then eventually I freaked out. Why do you people keep asking me why I need so much data? Just give me data, you know? And I was like, oh, well, we don't do that around here. Like, you know what? F it. Then I just ran out and made sure that the internet connection that I had started to work and we could luckily record our podcast.
Yeah, that was literally the bare minimum that you could do. So,
Uh, but
um,
anyways, I played Motorsport Manager on the Mac. Yeah, I like the part about the game that you can install mods. So you can, because the game doesn't feature licensed Formula One, it's a fictional league. So you can either play with a fictional team or you can create your own team.
yeah,
But through Steam Workshop, you can download all sorts of mods. So, for example, if you want the latest FIA team championship, so what's going on right now with Red Bull Racing and Renault and all that stuff, you can just download it for free, and then all the characters, all the names, all the sponsors, everything is super accurate and it's all fan made. Even the opening videos and the music in there is just available for free, which really makes it cool. But you can also, for example, go back into older Formula Ones. I did a season with 2004 cars because I like those cars from that era more. And then I had drivers such as Michael Schumacher, for example, and Alonso back at Renault. So that was also really cool.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like, but I am curious about stuff like fan mods that add, um, license stuff. How that stuff is. I'm assuming that because it's considered, would it be considered like a creative license or something?
I think it's
Because
okay because they don't
how do
charge
you have
money for
mods
it.
like that? Okay, yeah, okay. So those are free
Yeah,
mods.
yeah, all the mods are free. So
Oh,
I think
okay.
that that's the way they kind of can work with it. Whereas
I
if they
think
would
that's how
charge,
they're working around the law.
yeah, I think that's the way. And it's cool that they can because there are all sorts of different things you want. I'm currently in my I'm in two different seasons. In one is with mods for the newest season, so the 2019 with Mercedes, and one is a fictional team I just started. And I'm pretty far along. And what I started to do is said, okay, let me just start in Formula 3 and work my way up to Formula 1. So that's really
Mhm.
cool because there's all sorts of challenges and included with the game. Besides that, I've been playing some more Battlefield. Battlefield got a new mode, a limited mode called Outpost. It's based on two maps, Mercury, which is one of the new maps set in Greece, and on an existing map called Arras, which is in France. And basically, it's a map in which you have multiple points on the map, and you need to build a radio tower. And then you can the radio tower spreads propaganda, and by spreading propaganda, you gain recruits, which is generally like a point system, and you need the first team to
Mm.
hit 100 recruits or 100 points wins the match. But you can upgrade your radio towers to level 3, for example, by building that, so then you get more recruits every time. But you can also destroy the enemy's towers so that they lose recruits or their recruit counter freezes. So it's a combination of rush meets conquest. So it's really cool because it focuses the action on a lot of points in the map instead of just a random snipe fest, which happens on those maps.
So, do each of the teams build their own towers, or is there one central tower structure that you have to capture first?
And no, there are multiple points around the map. So there are,
Oh,
for
okay, multiple
example,
points.
4 or 5 points A, B, C, D, and then you can capture them or destroy them in which order you want. But it's really
Ah,
funny
okay.
that I was playing with this with a friend of mine. I'll shout out his name so he knows that I'm talking about him. His name's Lieutenant Moore 54. So if you're listening, I'm talking about you. We were playing the other day, and the funny thing is, when you're building those towers, the first two levels you can just build them and then it's good. And then when you build the third level, the tower turns red, meaning that you have to step away so that the tower can build out or can generate. And what you would see often is that 10 people would swarm a tower, drop
Mhm.
smoke grenades, and then the whole tower would disappear in smoke. And then they would build the tower. And then when it reached level three, the tower would turn red. And then everybody would step back at the same time. So it kind of looked like a dance slash a waltz in the game. And everybody was at the same time stepping back. And then this massive tower would pop up all of a sudden. So that was really funny. Um, it's a shame that it's a limited time mode. I don't know
Mhm.
why Dice is doing it, but Dice is doing a lot of limited time modes with this Battlefield, which they didn't really do in previous Battlefields. They've said they're
Well, it's the battle royale. It's the Fortnite mechanic.
Yeah, they said because there was an interview with the live producer for Battlefield 5, and he said that they're doing it so that they can experiment with different kinds of game modes, which
Yeah.
I do understand. It's just that certain game modes they did for a limited time were so good that you just want to be able to play them all the time instead of hoping that it'll come back. There was a game mode called Grind, which was a game mode in which it was 64 players, and then the map would really go into this small area and it would become like a bottleneck, and then it would be one team defending it and one team just rushing at it. So it was this really intense, chaotic feeling, like storming the beaches in Normandy in Saving Private Ryan. You know, it really was that intense. You would just constantly just shoot with your guns, and people would just swarm at you like ah, you know, just constantly screaming, medic, reloading, ah, it's super intense, and that's what's fun. And when we play Battlefield often, for example, they've added new stuff in there as well a while back, such as artillery barrages. That's the sound effect around that, for example, they nailed that. It's so cool when they do an artillery barrage, you see smoke popping, and then you can hear the shells dropping in, and then it's just a rain of shells, and you hear these explosions, and it feels like you're in the midst of the battle itself. When that stuff generally happens, I start screaming like, "Oh, get down! Artillery coming!" I'm so deep in the game, and just I'm just shouting into the microphone all the time. And I really like where Battlefield is going. I just hope they can keep
Mm.
this momentum going.
Yeah, I mean, I'm assuming that they'll be able to do that no problem because they're updating stuff and probably coming up with new modes every month. So ready to implement. I mean, this that kind of feels a lot like how my experience was with Splatoon and Splatoon 2. They added a bunch of stuff. Like basically, they have this thing what they call a Splatfest, and basically every month it's kind of like this kind of weird popularity contest where you choose a side, and then for a whole weekend, well, a 2 day weekend, um, you play for that side, and the stages are changed up, and there's like one particular stage that is a transforming stage, and every time it's different,
That's cool.
um, which is really cool. Um, Unfortunately, that is coming to an end after 2 years of the game's service. So yeah, that's unfortunate. But it does sound cool what Battlefield is doing, and and like I said before, I said the wrong word. What I meant to say was um, the the Fortnite effect.
Yeah,
What I
or
meant to say.
Formula. Yeah,
Well, yeah, well, Formula then would kinda, but it's more the Fortnite effect where people look at Fortnite and try and pick and outside of the battle royale mechanic, of course, try and pick and choose what aspects of Fortnite work best for their game and try to implement that. Because we know that they had this limited time event with when Avengers came out
yeah.
and when John Wick came out, and I think they're working on a new one that is being rumored, but we're not. I'm not 100% sure what that one is about. But there is something limited time coming. They actually hinted. They actually announced a new weapon that has to do with it, which is the flare gun. But
Hmm.
nobody knows what they're gonna use the flare gun for. So we don't know if it's like a new temporary mode or if it's a new permanent mode. We don't know.
Okay, that's curious.
But that is something that if you have a live service,
Hmm.
um, if you have a live service, you have to add. You either have to do one of two things. You're either constantly adding stuff, or you're going to go the experimentational route, where you come up with game modes that are interesting, try it out, pull it out, try something else, just to keep it interesting, just to keep the gameplay of standard deathmatch and capture the flag and conquest and stuff like that, trying to keep that at least somewhat interesting. And I think that's the reason why they're doing that for Battlefield 5. At least that's how it um that's my that's how I feel about it when you're
Yeah.
describing that.
Yeah, there are
So
the
yeah,
classic Battlefield modes are still in there, such as Conquest. It's just that
exactly.
they're constantly trying out new stuff, and with the people that I play with together, we're all the opinions are all the same. This is a cool mode. Why did they take this out? Or that's a cool mode. Why did they take it out? Um, yeah, I don't know. We'll probably hear and see more in the future. I understand if a mode's not popular, but for example, when Firestorm came out, they added duos into Firestorm, and then they eventually took it out. And they said, "Yeah, we've seen that duos isn't that popular compared to people squatting up." But for example, duos has become kind of a standard mode to have in a what you call it in a battle royale game. So I was surprised that they just wouldn't leave it in because it's like a standard mode to have in your battle royale game. But yeah, I'm happy at least that they told us why they did it instead of just taking it out and saying, "Well, we decided to take it out."
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
All right. So, anything else you've been playing?
Uh, no, I'm gonna play a lot of Total War Three Kingdoms again. It's just that I'm gonna build a new PC probably next week, so I'm kind of holding off till I build the PC so I can enjoy that game in a better visual fidelity.
All right.
But I'm really looking forward to playing that game. I've already sunken in 20 hours or something like that, and I just want to play it even more.
All right. Cool.
Yeah,
Yeah. I'm gonna continue and I already beat the four bosses, so I'm actually doing the final run on Cadence of Hyrule. So hopefully I'll get that done within the next day or so. And yeah, and finish up Horizon Zero Dawn finally.
and then we can start playing Division Two.
And then we can start playing Division Two.
Yeah,
Cool. Well, that was the second segment. We're gonna move on to our hidden gems. So stick around. And welcome back to our final segment of this episode, which is, of course, our hidden gems. Sean Templar, do you have a hidden gem that you want to share with the lovely people at home?
I do. Um, I'm not a huge fan of early access games because
Mm-hmm.
you never know what you're buying into.
True.
And a while back, I saw this. I'm a huge fan of the No Clip YouTube channel because the guys, it's kind of like documentary filmmaking, and it's all funded by gamers or it's independently funded. So every
Mm-hmm.
episode has sometimes a couple of thousand backers, and then everybody's also thanked in the credits and stuff like that. And then they go into in-depth stuff such as they had segments that they were at Bethesda, really on site there, getting all access. They had a segment they did around Horizon Zero Dawn, and they also did a segment around a game called Astro Near, which really caught my eye. And eventually, I saw the game on Steam. I saw the game. I thought on Xbox Game Pass. So I first got Xbox Game Pass, and it turned out not to be available on the PC. So thank you for that, Microsoft. I wasted my money on that. And then eventually I blew $30 on it and bought it through Steam. Um, and basically, what the game Astroneer is about, the name almost says it, is that you're a astronaut, which is stranded in a way on a planet, and you need to get off the planet again. And to be able to do that, you need to build a spaceship. And to
Mm.
build a spaceship, you need to create parts, you need to harvest resources. Um, it's kind of, it feels like No Man's Sky,
Yeah.
um, but it really looks stylish. It's really cool. It's a really basic game. It's an indie game, but it really looks stylish. It's really fun to play. And it's also pretty deep because you have to keep an eye on your power supply. You can't just run around on the planet. You have an oxygen tether you need to keep in check. So when you're walking, you can put these oxygen tethers that connect to your main base. It's kind of like those lines when you're climbing a mountain. You hook yourself onto a line so that when you slip, you don't fall off the mountain. It looks a lot like that. So you create these
Oh.
tethers, but you also need to harvest resources to be able to craft the tethers, and you can harvest everything on the planet. So the game is built on not on polygons, but something else. I don't know what it's called anymore. It's something with a T. Um, it's something new, and which creates these procedurally generated worlds and makes everything rakeable, to put it that way. So, for example, you can build a, I would call it a space vacuum cleaner that sucks in
Mm.
those resources. But if you want, you can just point that resource, that vacuum cleaner on the ground, and then it starts to suck in that ground and starts to dig a hole. And if you dig long enough, you can just go to the core of the planet, which
Yeah.
might cause you to enter into a cave, for example, and then you might find an alien crash there or other rare resources. But if you don't build tethers while you're going down to the core, you might die of suffocation. um, it's a really cool game. There's not like a clear goal in the game. There's not really a story in the game. It's one of those
Mm.
games that you kind of have to drive yourself, motivate yourself to explore and push yourself to get off the planet. You can build parts of your base. You can for example, you have these resources you can convert into other resources. You can gather resources such as ammonia, and then you can craft that, or you can put it into a machine which converts it into, for example, plastic. And then with plastic, you can make, for example, a solar panel which grants you power when you're just walking around. Or it
Huh.
gives you solar cells, or it gives you a light you can put on your backpack. It's a pretty big game for $30 or euros made by an indie developer. You can also play the game in co-op if you want, which is also a super cool thing.
Online co-op?
I think so. Yeah, I haven't tried it, but the options there in the menu.
Oh, okay.
The game is available on Xbox. The game is available on PC. I'm playing the PC version, and it's a really fun game. It's just that you have to be motivated to constantly keep discovering. And
Yeah.
I've put 8 hours into the game or something like that. And because I need a really specific resource to be able to build the next step into getting closer to my spaceship, and I can't find that resource, that's a small thing that's annoying me because yeah, I've tried a lot of stuff, digging holes into the planet, digging holes into the mountains. There's holes everywhere, but I just can't find the resource I'm looking for. You can build tractors you can drive on, or space rovers. There's a lot of stuff you can build, and the cool part is that you're doing this exploration while you're at it. It's just that you have to gather all these resources, and you can't infinitely gather these resources because what happens is your vacuum cleaner sucks it all in, and then it creates like a cube, and that cube drops onto the floor, and then you have to grab the cube and put it in your backpack. But you also have an infinite amount of space in your backpack. It's not that you can put everything in it. So there are a lot of mechanics in the game that force you to adapt constantly, and that's what I really like about the game. It really has this
All
cool,
right.
stylish look. You should definitely look it up.
All right. Cool. I'll look it up.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
called Astroneer, and it's available for 30 euros on Steam, and it's an early access game.
Okay. Cool. Wow. I'll have to look it up. I like space games. I mean, yeah, I like space
Yeah,
games.
me too. That's why I kind of
I I
played it.
I mean, I bought Kerbal Space Program when it was still in early access, so it was cheap. It was like 15 euros
A
to get
friend of
it
mine
back
is
then.
so enthusiastic about that game. I
That
haven't
game
played
is
it,
so
but
good, but it deserves a way better rig than I have right now.
yeah, I heard
And
people built the craziest stuff for that game.
here's the thing they said that they were working on a console version like a couple of years
It's
ago,
out.
and then
It's
we heard
available on
no.
PS4.
Wait, you're kidding?
Yeah, the friend of mine that plays it said that it's out, but it's better played on a PC than on a uh,
Oh, because of the
console.
controls.
I think so. Yeah, but they got controls. Yeah.
I wonder if they'll patch in PlayStation VR support. That would actually make
Is
sense.
the PC version playable in VR?
I don't think. Actually, I don't know.
Yeah, the game is available. I think it came out on PC, on PlayStation in 2016, because I can see an
Really?
IGN review for 2016 for the PS4, and I can see it on the PlayStation Store for about 40 euros.
Yeah,
It
that sounds
came
about
out.
right.
Oh wait, it says here it came out January 16, 2018, so last year.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
That's unfortunate. Um, yeah, I mean, I love Kerbal Space Program. This sounds like, and I actually enjoyed, for as much as my PC could handle it, I enjoyed No Man's Sky. So I'm still gonna get it on PlayStation 4 eventually. Because I just want to play that game like
But that's also one of
uninhibited.
those games that you have to be motivated to constantly discover things.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
I can only
Not the
keep
same
that
for
up so
Kerbal.
much. And after that I like stories. So if there's no, and they've added it in by now with No Man's Sky, but when it came out in the beginning, it didn't have a story at all. You constantly have to motivate yourself to discover
Well, it
things.
had a vague semblance of a story.
Yeah.
Well, it had a goal, not so much a story.
Yeah,
It had
travel
a
to the
goal.
center of the universe.
Yeah. But moving on to the hidden gem that I have, and we're going back to the 3DS well here, but this is again one of those unique experiences like Cadence of Hyrule that I totally recommend people pick up and play, which is called Pocket Card Jockey. This is a game that was made by the developers of the Pokemon franchise, Game Freak, and it is a horse racing game where you race your horse by playing a unique game of solitaire.
What?
Yes, it sounds as batshit insane as that sounds, but it is so fun and so addicting because basically what you have is the story is very simple. You are a jockey who is not good at his job, and he was about to lose his job when he got kicked off a horse, essentially died, and then went to heaven and got greeted by an angel
What?
who gave him the option to come back to earth and actually become a good jockey. But the jockey himself is so bad at a lot of things. The only thing that he was good at was playing solitaire. So the angel was like, you know what? I'm gonna allow you to become a good jockey through playing solitaire. So what you
Okay.
do whenever a race starts is you start a very quick game of solitaire, and then you're off. And during each segment of the race, depending on how long the race is, there's a set amount of solitaire games that you have to complete. So each segment you have to start with a card, and then you pick the higher or lower value until you can't pick no more, and then you get a stack of cards which you can use to fill up. And when you see a number that you can pick up, it's basically, it is solitaire, but you're playing it kind of upside down because the cards are stacked in rows horizontally, and you have to work those away. And once you've cleared it, you gain a boost, and you can reposition your horse on the track to gain more energy. And at the last final sprint is where you use that energy to move up into the pack. If you need a speed boost, you can use speed boost that you pick up during the solitaire session. I totally recommend looking up the trailer for that, but it is one of the more unique games out there, especially considering it's a 3DS game.
What is the game called? I
Um,
just want to see it right now.
Pocket Card Jockey. So
Pocket.
wow, I can really hear your keyboard
I
going
have a
on there.
mechanical keyboard, so
Yeah, I
yeah,
can hear it.
I have to get
But
used to it. Yeah.
it is a really fun game. I picked it up when it came out. I heard about it when it launched in Japan, and I was like, okay, A, that sounds insane. B, that sounds awesome. C, they're never gonna localize this.
The
And
horse looks
they
bigger
ev-
than the jockey. The horse's
well
head
the
looks bigger than the jockey.
jockeys are always tiny. Did you never know that? Did you not know that? Jockeys are small
I
people.
thought they just like really made themselves small because of
No, they make
aerodynamics.
themselves small, but mm, jockeys don't tend to be tall
But in
people.
this case, the horse's head looks bigger than the whole jockey.
Well, of course it's of course exaggerated, but the point is that yeah, it is a really cute art aesthetic, but honestly, I honestly don't know how I'm going to convince other people to play this game because it is a 3DS title. But if you have a 3DS and you haven't picked this up yet, it's relatively cheap on the eShop. I don't remember what the price is. I could look it up real quick, but it's relatively cheap on the eShop. It is a very deep game. I haven't checked my I haven't checked my 3DS clock on it, but I think I have spent at least 50 hours in the game,
Damn.
and I still haven't finished the game.
It looks
There
like a
is a
fun game though.
there is a there is a semblance of a story in there, in which that as a jockey you're racing other people's horses. So there are certain points in the game where you have story beats with the owners, and they're all different and kind of semblance of people. So you have a pop idol who is very much into learning about new things in the world and trying out new things and being very cultured. Well, okay, cultured is not the right word here. Um, she likes to keep herself informed. So if there's something that she doesn't know about, she likes to learn more about it. So she's very inquisitive, not something that you would not something that you would expect from your typical pop idol, especially because she looks like a typical pop idol. Then you have this really gaudy rich guy with gold, like all of his teeth are gold. It's really gross and weird, and he's super short and has this big grin all the time, unless when you make him upset. And then the last guy that no, actually there are two more guys. So the guy before the last is this typical mad doctor, which you'd think, why is a mad doctor an owner of race horses? Like, he has an eye patch, and he has like the cape with the pauldrons on it, and it looks really weird.
Sounds like a
And
bad guy. A
yeah,
villain.
exactly. He looks like a villain, but he owns racehorses. Okay. And the last one is a very Steve Jobs looking guy who's a game developer. And ironically enough, he makes his best selling game was, get this, a horse racing sim,
Wow.
which is so ironic. But the funny part is because you have all these unique owners, all the horses from these owners have names that make sense to the owners. So the pop idol has horses that have like this beautiful blah blah blah, beautiful pony, for example, or sunny day, and the mad scientist has like mindful experiment or big experiment, or and the game designer has weird game sounding um, horses, and of course the rich guy, of course his horses are like called bling bling and money and all those weird kind of names. You can change the names of the horses if you want to at the beginning when you choose them. You get the option to change it, but if you don't want to change it, you don't have to. But yeah, it's really fun. The cool thing also about it is that the horse you go through seasons. So basically every you have a set amount of races, and when a season is done, the horse ages up. So when the horse reaches maturity, you can still race with them to build up your capital, but if you lose 3 times, you have to retire the horse. And when you retire the horses that are retired are in this little on this little farm, and you can have 2 of them mate so that you can make better horses with better stats, because it has, of course, RPG elements in it. Because
Wow.
all the horses have different stats, and if you put 2 horses together that have great stats and great skill unlocks, you can unlock skills of their foal, and breed better racing horses like a real horse racing game.
That sounds pretty
So
deep for a horse game.
it is like for something as silly as a solitaire horse racing game, it is surprisingly deep. So again, I urge people, if you have a 3DS, pick it up, play it. It is really fun. You won't regret it. If you don't know what I'm talking about, look up Pocket Card Jockey on YouTube. Check out the trailer or check out a video review of them. Most reviews of it is really positive. I mean, not tens, of course, but like a lot of eights and nines in there, and a couple of sevens in there, of course. But most people are positive on it. Like it's a really fun game. So yeah, that's it for my hidden gem for this week.
And I did not expect it to be something like this, but it really sounds fun.
Next time when we meet, I'll show it to you, man. It's totally fun. You should at least check it out in real
I
person.
can't wait.
Plus, again, since it's a Game Freak title, the music is phenomenal. Like it has really catchy music. So
I'm really curious right now, so
yeah. All right, so that brings us to the end of another episode of Game Rivals. Thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you guys for also listening during E3 week. We had a blast recording despite technical challenges on certain ends.
uh,
But we're back together and stronger than ever. And we'll be building from this on out. So hopefully you guys will stick around. Hopefully you keep spreading the word about Game Rivals. Tell your friends, tell your family members, tell other gamers that you know about us. And hopefully they'll come and listen to us and enjoy the podcast as well. As always, you can find us on any podcast service that you use, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Overcast, you name it, we're probably on it. Um, you can also always find us on Twitter at game underscore rivals underscore. You can find me on at Maximilian on Twitter. You can always send us an email through gamerivalfeedback at gmail.com. You can also always send us a voice message. The link of the where you can leave voice messages is in the podcast description, so please check it out. Thank you guys for listening. Sean Templar, do you have anything else to say to the lovely people out there?
I just want to thank everybody for listening. And if we talk to people, just for giving us feedback, giving us compliments. You know, it's good to hear back from people. That way, we know that we're on the right track.
Yep.
So,
Also, leave your compliments in the podcast reviews, please, because those help for us for more discoverability as well.
I'm just happy and grateful for the support we're getting, and yeah, we just want to. We have some exciting stuff coming up, so we're gonna expand on a lot of stuff, and we'll probably be ready to talk about that soon. So stay
Yep,
tuned.
definitely. Yeah, cool. So this is Maximilian X
And this is Sean Templer.
signing off and wishing you all a very pleasant day.